George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters by Anfield Index. The 100% start is over, isn't it, ladies and gents? As after the international break, Liverpool are defeated at Anfield by Nottingham Forest. The only good thing to maybe talk about is the fact we've got games coming thick and fast, and even tomorrow, the Champions League campaign kicks off in the San Siro. Here to look back and look ahead to everything that's coming up red-wise in the week, as ever, is David Lynch. I mean, David, the weather was actually quite nice at Anfield on Saturday, wasn't it? Was that the biggest positive?
Yeah, to be fair, because you're usually strapped in for like 9 months of terrible weather in the season. So yeah, it's with a couple of weeks to either side. So yeah, probably the main positive. But yeah, a bit of a. I think Virgil van Dijk used the phrase reality check, didn't he? And that is a little bit what it felt like. Very disappointing. But I think we do say about you learn a lot more in defeats than you do in victories, and that's a common phrase in football, isn't it? And I do think there were things that we could take from that, both positive and negative, and things to improve, but also things that are still, I think, quite decent, which I'm sure we'll get into while talking about it.
Yeah, I did want to ask you your thoughts on the performance, and I get why people do this. When you lose 1-0 at home to Nottingham Forest, I totally understand the reaction of that and there was a lot that wasn't good. There's no two ways about it at all. But it wasn't all bad at the same time. I mean, how do you measure that performance sort of 48 hours later?
Yeah, I just thinking it was my feeling now, but also my feeling at full time was, Liverpool should have just come away with a 0-0 there, really, and it just would have been one of those games where it wasn't happening for them going forward for whatever reason. But I still think we'll start, I guess, with the positives. Is that I think it sounds daft to say it when you concede that you lose at home to Nottingham Forest, who are a side who, although they've had a brilliant start to the season, by the way, so they're no mugs. But obviously a disappointing result. But I think Liverpool still, for me, looked very, very solid. They looked hard to beat. That for me is the main positive. I thought a lot that happened in defence. I thought Virgil and Canate both had really good games. I thought Gravenberch played well again. And Liverpool didn't give up very many chances. They basically caught a brilliant goal there. Hudson-Odoi, it's just a great finish. I mean, it kisses the post on the way in, which is what you've got to do to beat Alisson. He beats two men coming inside, which, keep hearing that, he should have been forced down the line.
Yeah.
You get to show them down the line, but you can't make them do it. It's not, And you also you can't completely give up the line because they will ping across in on the left foot. That these are elite level players. It's not as easy as that. So I don't really buy the criticism of the defending around the goal, bar maybe Gakpo should take his man down. I think other than that, maybe he just lacks a little bit of cynicism there, and I'm sure he'll be told about that one. But really, for me, very difficult to criticise around the goal. And as I say, didn't give up many chances at all. Looked really, really solid. I think Forest managed 0.6 expected goals, so not an awful lot at all. Chris Wood got bullied. I thought they generally dealt well with the wingers. So that was still there, and I think that's the thing that we've been calling out for a lot of last season, wasn't it? To be more solid, to be harder to beat. So that was still there. The only problem was, and this was the reason kind of you end up putting yourself in a situation where you can get beat and maybe deserve it, is they were so poor in attack. So that is the main focus for me, is that nothing really worked going forward. I didn't think any forward played well. Either the starters or the subs really. And anyone really who was in a creative role just couldn't make it happen. And when that happens, you're very unlikely to score. And they were probably unlucky not to come away with the 0-0 and feeling disappointed about the attack not firing. But it feels worse because it ends 1-0. But I do think a lot of Liverpool's problems were confined to that top end of the pitch, and that's not something we're used to. We like to think it's not going to become a regular feature under Slot, and I really doubt it, because his teams are, we've seen very good at scoring goals. So, but yeah, that for me was the main problem, and I think everyone would probably feel the same coming away from Anfield. Is that if all your forwards don't play well and you don't create a lot, you put yourself in a position to lose games, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I was at Anfield. That's how it felt, especially when it's a brilliant goal by Hudson-Odoi. And I don't put any blame on Conor Bradley as well, because no offence to Conor Bradley, he comes into almost a pack three, isn't he, which negates all his abilities. And he's up against Hudson-Odoi. And to be fair to him, Hudson-Odoi is rapid and skillful, and he's getting rinsed time and time again with no support whatsoever. So I don't blame him either. I mean,
that's a good point, actually, because he gets left isolated in 1v1 situations. And I mean, even around the goal, I thought Hudson-Odoi is just a very good footballer. So yeah, if you're going to push on and you're going to try and score goals and you're going to leave 1v1s, you're going to make it difficult for your defenders. So he doesn't really deserve criticism around that. But also, I really do think around the goal is, look, you can say about him cutting inside. Like I say, you can't fully prevent that. You can only show them down the line and kind of give yourself a chance of coming inside with him. But he's on him all the time. He's got his arm around him. He's slowing him down. But Hudson-Odoi curls it around Konate. So that's how far across he gets. And Konate is inside of him, and he still bends it around him. It's just a great goal. And I think sometimes you can get too much into over-analysing goals. You're never going to just go through a season not conceding. As I say, the best you can do is limit your opposition to shots from distance, from difficult areas. And Liverpool largely did that. The unfortunate thing was they just caught it curled in an absolute beauty and off the post. And if you go through the season only conceding shots from that area, the chances you are going to concede very, very few goals. So that for me is why it's still a positive, even though they lose the game. Is they did generally defend quite well and made it hard for the opposition to score. And if you keep doing that, you're going to give yourself a chance to win games. But you do probably have to play a little bit better going forward.
Yeah. You're right, because Liverpool have had the highest XG in the Premier League so far, but it was a terrible day for the forwards. I mean, no one's going to want to hear man of the match at all, but there were still quite a few pass marks, I think it's fair to say. Like you mentioned, a few of the defenders. And I'm not quite sure why Gravenberch got lambasted with the rest of midfield, because I think he did okay as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he played really well again, breaking up play, making it difficult. Again, that low XG score that Forest generate, he's a big part of that. So many times he nicks in, takes the ball. Lovely little moments where he's evading players in tight areas. Again, his touch and his sort of ability to slip away from players is just unrivaled in the squad. He's so good at that. So I thought it was a bit of a joy to watch him again. I think he's really growing into that role. I thought McAllister was good. I thought Liverpool lost an awful lot when he went off, actually, in terms of creativity, and obviously he was breaking up play again as well. He for me had a really good game. So that midfield base was really good. I thought, centre halves were really good, and Liverpool didn't give up much on that basis really. But yeah, it's just everything in front of that really, and everybody around that kind of had a little bit of a stinker, and like I say, if you do that makes it really, really difficult.
Yeah, I suppose we should look at the other things because it wasn't brilliant going the other way. And this isn't being like vultures sort of scavenging over, but it's fair to sort of steer into it. I mean, the right side this season's been sensational up until now, hasn't it? Salah, Trent, Szoboszlai, brilliant. There's no two ways about it. And they weren't the only ones by any means, but they probably picked Saturday to arguably have their worst games in a red shirt, didn't they, in all honesty?
Yeah, I thought, I mean, you know, in the spirit of giving the opposition credit as well, again, I have to say, I thought Forest's fullbacks, Alex Moreno and Aldeano, were man of the match between them for me. Both absolutely phenomenal because, you know, Liverpool's situation was because the way Forest set up with 3 midfielders deep in front of the back 4, then 2 tight midfielders who were in central areas ahead of them. That was how they started the game before they went to those 2 wide men later on. It was just basically impossible to play through the middle. So the only way that Liverpool were going to score a goal was to go down the outside. And I just thought, you know, there's so many situations where they managed to isolate Forest fullbacks 1v1, and you're so reliant on that situation. Then on, it's all about 1v1 quality and what you can show there. And I thought Aina and Moreno were absolutely sensational in stopping Diaz and Salah. Really, really good. But obviously alongside that then, Salah and Diaz had poor games. They just couldn't, you know, stamp their quality on the match in a situation where Liverpool desperately needed one of them to just find a bit of space and beat a man. I mean, the one situation where Salah, I think, gets one-on-one with a centre half, he twists and turns, doesn't he? Gets that right foot shot away. Just needed a little bit more of that really throughout the game. But I think Salah, 1 out of 5 dribbles he completes, and sums up his day. He just kept getting tackled there. I think Diaz pretty similar. Doesn't even maybe take a shot. It just wasn't their day. They just had poor games, and I think, you know, it's a tough one really in terms of, you know, you could argue should Salah have been taken off? Possibly he was playing that poorly, but obviously they probably don't have a natural replacement for him with Chiesa not being on the bench. I thought Chiesa not being on the bench was probably a poor decision in the sense that, you know, I think I said in the press conference video I did before this game is that I suspected and felt that Chiesa was going to be on the bench because I thought it's Forest at home, a game where they might be able to frustrate you. If they do, you need more attacking options than having Gomez and Quansah on the bench really in that situation, don't you? So I was a little surprised, but obviously maybe just not quite ready. But yeah, you know, it would have been nice to have a Salah sub there because he really did play poorly. And just on that, I think, you know, with Salah dropping that poor game there, it's kind of interesting, isn't it, within the context of his contract, not to focus in too much on basically one of the very few bad games he's had in the last few years of all of his Liverpool tenure. But I just think, you know, it's worth mentioning, isn't it, that Liverpool have got to protect themselves against those becoming more frequent. It's so hard to imagine it when he's absolutely flying and scoring goals, but you know, in 2 years' time, will they become a little bit more the norm, or will they start to creep in more frequently? And you find that you've still got a year left on the contract. There's 350 grand a week. That is why, for me, that decision is not an absolute slam dunk. It's not easy to make at all, because there is a chance that Salah starts to play a little bit more like that. You know, you've got to be realistic about it. Without, you know, everyone played poorly, by the way, in the attack, so I really don't want to focus on him. But I just think it's kind of interesting in the context of what's being spoken about at the moment that you know, he is capable of doing that, and if that becomes more frequently, it's interesting with reference to his contract.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN. making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, it was a disaster. I mean, even the stats from Saturday, Salah completed 70% of his pass, Jota just 54%, Trent 70%, Szoboszlai 78%. And it just felt as well like Szoboszlai had so many good opportunities and just picked the wrong ball time and time again. Hopefully it is a one-off, and obviously we're talking about something different next week as well. I suppose the question is, we talked about the challenges Slot has faced and how it works. This was probably the one you'd say where it was Forest came with the low block. They stuck their sort of meaty midfielders, 3 across the middle, made it a 5. We said, we're just going to pack that midfield. A lot of people have referred to this, so maybe it's too early, but I do want to ask you, have Forest almost now given other teams a blueprint or a hint like, hold on, if you come to Anfield and do this, this might be your best joy?
Yeah, I think so. And, but we also shouldn't get too concerned about it in the sense that, I probably think that was going to be most teams' approach anyway, is try and clog the middle and sit in deep. I mean, that's been probably the approach for most teams for the last 10 years or whatever, or probably longer than that when they come to Anfield. So, and you have to say as well, it's difficult to pull it off as well. I mean, Forest have got some very good players. They've got a good coach who knows how to coach that. And your fullbacks have got to be absolutely phenomenal and on it and probably not get beat. Because, I mean, if they get beat once in one of those duels and Liverpool go 1-0 up, they probably just run away with the game in the end. So you've really got to be on it. So I wouldn't worry too much about, Slot being worked out or anything. But it's given him something to maybe think about in terms of, these Premier League low blocks are probably a little bit better than you would find in other leagues because, look at Forest teams, the team of absolute giants, physicality, the quality is there in terms of getting them out on the break as well. So it's probably a higher level low block than he's faced before. But yes, it does give that blueprint. But I'm not overly concerned yet in that, probably is he's seen that now in the flesh and got a really good idea how that works. I mean, Brentford played in a kind of similar way, by the way, and they worked it out anyway. So, it's not like this is the first time he's kind of seen something like that. So, yeah, not too worried about that. And I would also say as well, there's a factor that, we'll find out the next couple of weeks whether it was a factor. But I think the international break and just killing a little bit of rhythm in the players was probably played a role in that in terms of them, every single attacker not playing particularly well. Probably surely is going to be rare that you're going to get days where that happens with so many quality attackers that Liverpool have got. So yeah, it does give that little bit of a blueprint, but it's hard to pull off. And I do think that Liverpool's attackers generally will probably play better than that and win a lot more of these games. But yeah, interesting one if in terms of the Slot. Has he taken something from that you can learn and something he'll do in terms of his approach that will change? That'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's as much as it probably worked. It was a good game plan. You've got to give credit to Forest for how they executed it. You hope it's a one-off, but all the attackers to be that bad is so unique. And there was even that one in the first half where Diaz reads Zaina trying to let it go out and he hits the post, doesn't he, where he cuts right in from the back. If that go, it's a different day. So yeah, rather than a blueprint, we just have to hope this is a one-off. The one thing I did want to ask you about, because this is what did surprise me around Slot. We've seen a head coach so far that's been business, cold, calculating, almost calm, and especially in the second half, made the right changes. I mean, when he made subs in this one, to have Tsimikas and Bradley as part of a back three defensive line, centre-backs almost, which negates their abilities, even Trent going higher, it kind of had a look almost with even every sub coming on, it almost got worse a little bit. And I had a general thing in the main stand. I was there. You're thinking some players don't almost know where they're supposed to be a little bit or what they're supposed to be doing. They're never going to have practiced this before as well. Maybe a bit strong, but did that surprise you? Because these are my words a little bit. I almost sensed a little bit of panic and like the plans went out the window. Just get attacking players on a little bit on Saturday.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a little early in his reign to start making changes like that, where the players clearly looked uncomfortable. And I just thought, it's so weird, isn't it, that from Forest's goal, really Liverpool just didn't create anything. I think one of the things that hurt them the most was when McAllister went off. I thought that sub, he had to make it, really, didn't he? Because of the international break, they want to protect him. But I think that killed Liverpool in terms of progressing the ball, which is why I think a big part of why they looked better in the first half and then so poor in the second really was, McAllister comes off fairly early and I think things really, they struggled in getting the ball forward from that point onwards, really. So I don't know if it was panicky in terms of what he was doing. I think there's going to be a point at which he thinks that will work in terms of having two full-backs either side of a centre-half, gets you more footballers on the pitch. It allows your centre-halves to almost do the overlaps themselves, creates confusion. I think there's a possibility that will work, but I think clearly they haven't really worked on that one. It's just something he was kind of trying and trying to sort of do something a little bit mad to disrupt Forest, but yeah, I agree. It actually just kind of disrupted Liverpool, and he did struggle in progressing the ball from that point. Again, the fact he's pushing Trent into midfield as well, I think that kind of tells you that, why Zubimendi would have been a good signing and why they kind of were so keen on him is because I think profile-wise, quite similar to McAllister, actually, and I think you just lose an awful lot when he's not on the pitch. So, that made you think that would be a situation where you liked him because you're not looking to Endo in this situation. He's very much that holder who breaks things up rather than progresses the ball. So, I think that was something that you kind of felt from that situation. But I didn't quite get panic. Not too kind of worried about how he approached that one. And like I said, I think there'll be lessons taken from this one. And he's got a bit of a bloodied nose there, hasn't he, from those Premier League low blocks. So, but big test of him now as a tactician and man management as well. Pick the players up, get them playing again, and also next time he comes up against this tactic, how does he deal with it? Really interesting, nice little early test of him, and we'll see how he copes with it now.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see, like you say, how he does cope. Almost in a weird way, it's a bit of a different question, but is it more intriguing now to see what Bournemouth's like than Milan? And the reason I say that, I know Milan are going to San Siro. Milan are going to come out, aren't they? Go for us. Naturally, it's in the San Siro, so it's a different challenge. Whereas you suspect Bournemouth are probably going to more sit in and probably have a look at that Forest game and go, is that more indicative of whether he's learned from it that way?
Yeah, but I think Bournemouth's slightly different side, aren't they? So I think it's going to be, they are a little bit more open and kind of will try and play their football. So not quite coming like Forest, and they won't probably have three midfielders in front of the centre halves and then another two midfielders inside that. So, it's probably going to be different. But I guess the fundamentals will kind of be the same in that they will try the best to kind of sit deep and frustrate a little bit and then hit on the counter. And they've got loads and loads of quality on the counter as well. So, possibly even more than Forest. So that makes it dangerous. But I think it is going to be a slightly different game. But I think obviously you will want to see and be desperate to see a really good performance and a win just to completely get that out of the system. But obviously this Tuesday before that, and although that will be a very different game, again, vital to just win it and get the confidence back up and get a winning run going.
Yeah, no doubt. And they get the chance to erase it quite quickly because we know Liverpool will be training at 12 o'clock live. And then Arne Slot does his press conference from 6:30, I think it is, in Milan. So we'll come on to Milan shortly. There was just a few off-the-field bits I did want to ask you about. I mean, probably the bad news, we've been quite good with injuries all round, it's fair to say, but the Harvey Elliott news, I mean, that sounds like a really bad one. Even suggestions with their fractured foot, it's been carrying it for a while. Even talk it's going to be like late October, November time. I mean, it's a bad injury anyway, but almost the bad news just feels with this season, he's almost going to be like restarting his pre-season as players are in full flow, isn't he? This is going to really disrupt his season that way.
Yeah, I don't, to be fair, it was put to me that it's kind of going to be a month minimum, so we'll kind of see what that looks like and how quickly he heals or whatever. But I'm not too worried about, needing a new preseason or anything like that. It's not quite long enough to maybe leave him in that situation. He shouldn't lose too much. And I think, they'll get him running as soon as he possibly can. So, yeah, he should still keep in shape and be ready. And he's a pretty sharp player anyway, isn't he? So I don't think he'd lose too much in that time. I thought it was a game actually on Saturday where they'd have loved him to bring him on the pitch there and find those little gaps and little pockets to exploit Forest's formation. So, that's the bad news. And he would have played an awful lot of football, wouldn't he, in this period now, as it's 7 games in 21 days. He'd definitely, I think was it the last pod when they said he was kind of the 12th man and they're going to miss him there. So, yeah, that's a real shame, really. But it's, that's part and parcel of football. And to be honest, it's worth mentioning within this that, they've not had very many injuries so far. Touch wood. Records looking pretty good in this early stage of the season. And I know it is early, so people will be like, what's he talking about? But usually Liverpool have had 4 or 5 by now. So the fact they got, just the one and it's an impact injury is, not bad going. So hopefully that can continue because, you won't miss Harvey Elliott too much if you've got everybody else fit. If you bring in on Chiesa for Salah instead, if you've got, Curtis Jones to help out in midfield, if you've got all those other options in there. So, yeah, that's the hope, is that they can keep that going. But with Elliott, blow for him, blow for Liverpool, and you just hope he gets back as quickly as possible because he had something that, he's that real playmaker in central midfield in a way that, others aren't, particularly in those sort of, he's more advanced than a McAllister, isn't he, in the way he does that. So, he's a miss. So hopefully back after the next international break.
Yeah, and he proved it last season, to be fair. He was the first off the bench when we were playing a low block, something different just to create. So, yeah, we could have really done it on Saturday. But, hey, I suppose I did want to ask you, because Slot mentioned that in the press conference, he said that others will get minutes. Who do you fancy could be? Because I think we all suspected it's almost Harvey seems to have been before the injury. So Boslai's back up and primed to come in as a number 10. So there might have to be a bit of a rejig, whether it be attack, midfield. Who do you think is going to be the beneficiary that way or get those extra minutes potentially?
I just think because it's attacking midfield, I just think it pushes Curtis up the sort of pecking order, really, doesn't it? I think he probably will benefit in terms of just it'll give him more time off the bench. So maybe he's the one, but it's a shame, isn't it? You don't quite have anyone of that profile who's a direct replacement. Probably puts a little bit of pressure on Szoboszlai in terms of the minutes he's going to have to get through, and he does an awful lot of running as it is, so it's a real shame you don't have that option to protect him. And you can see with the substitutions that Slot's very big on that as well, is, making those subs late in games to sort of try and just take a few minutes away from players. So to not have someone who can do that for Szoboszlai or be just a really ideal replacement for him is a shame, but it does give opportunities. And Curtis, it's, been a kind of slow start to the season for him with getting that little injury. So, and he's talked about really enjoying this type of football. So good opportunities here for him to prove why and show he can be important this season, because there's still some supporters a little bit on his back, aren't they, and not sure about his value. But I think we've seen it enough that when he's playing well and he's in rhythm, he can be really, really important. So I hope this is a good opportunity for him to show that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why people were jumping on the subs backs, because they were all playing unusual positions for most of them anyway. And the starters were even worse. So if you're going to jump on that, it's got to be consistent. But hey ho. And we kind of alluded to this a few weeks back. Adidas are back in the game. We know they're coming. I know you see the new kits for the season. This is a strong statement, but I think it's true, so I'm going with it. Adidas are just better than Nike for Liverpool, aren't they?
I think so. I think they're just a better fit. I just don't think... I've never seen Liverpool as a Nike club. And I mean, been some brilliant kits, don't get me wrong. I mean, that Ecru one for me is an absolute all-timer. It helps that you win 5-0 at Old Trafford in it, so that will always have the memories of that. But Liverpool, yeah, definitely an Adidas club, and I think hopefully we'll get some really nice kits going forward under them, and some throwbacks to some great Adidas retro kits.
Yeah,
I see some of the stuff they've done for Arsenal has been phenomenal. So yeah, kind of looking forward to seeing those and Liverpool going down a different route.
Yeah, there's 3 are out doing their rounds on social media. If you've not seen them, people, and the green third choice is absolutely sensational.
And I love the colours of both, because I think they're going to maybe there's a chance of another Ecru one as a kit as well. So yeah, lovely. Can't wait to see those.
3 different crests as well, so it's looking good. So yeah, that's something we know is happening. This one, There's a few wild stories I've got to ask you about have come up recently in the last week or so. I didn't think we'd ever been speaking about Kylian Mbappe again, but here we are. L'Équipe went with this, and then he kind of like came round, didn't it? That the story that back in 2022, just reading the extract here, they said he clearly wanted to leave. Liverpool had a deal done for fecker money as well, but PSG wouldn't sanction it. Believe that, David, or is that just a column filler for L'Équipe during the international break?
I mean, I'd be surprised if it got that far. I mean, I've no doubt that there's been contact between Liverpool and Mbappe. They'd kind of made no secret of the fact that they're really keen, and if he could have done a deal at any point, but it's been clear for a while, hasn't it? And certainly as far back as 2022 that he was very, very keen on, ended up at Madrid. And I just find it hard to imagine that he would have postponed that in any way to try and come to Liverpool, and Liverpool then would have had a problem for maybe a couple of years of Mbappe pushing to go to Real Madrid. I just don't think, no doubt they've had an interest and they thought if this is feasible, and he does put that Real Madrid thing to one side, but that it ever got far enough that a deal was basically agreed, I'm not entirely sure about that one, to be honest. It's, I just don't think Liverpool were ever that close, really.
Yeah, it's a good column filler, and it's all irrelevant now anyway, isn't it, type of thing. But yeah, and I did see my favourite tweet, "Where's the Mbappe money, John?" So that's a new tagline to add to that as well. So there you go. And speaking of tweets, Ramy's back in the game now, isn't he? All of a sudden, we spoke about Mo Salah and his contract. So just for those who missed it, as Ramy tweeted on the 12th, FYI, all those journalists who imply having inside information about Mohamed's future are making claims / posts based on absolutely nothing. Just click whoring. Sources close to Mohamed don't exist. This post is really just to tell you that they don't know. I never thought this would be the 4th installment of Mohamed Salah's contract discussion that we're having, but it is. And I mean, we've built up from, and I'm not going to say quote-unquote journalist, but people saying, that he wants to stay and everything around that. What did you make of this tweet?
Yeah, I mean, it's I found this amusing, really, because I've personally never written anything about sources close to Mo Salah, because I'll be quite honest with you now and just level with you. I've never really had any dealings with Ramy. Can't really get close to him. Just one of those situations. Some agents can get in with, some he can't really, and he prefers to, I think, manage things through his own social media page rather than anything else. So, but that insinuation makes me laugh in terms of the idea that there aren't sources close to Mohamed. So he's got no mates. He's got no one even close. Not even anyone who works with him, or that's just nonsense, isn't it? Because he doesn't know who Salah has spoken to, or it's not just he hangs around with Ramy and then his family. I can't imagine that's how his life works. So anyone who has written that, obviously respected sources at least, you would imagine probably got something behind it and have spoken to people around Salah who are not Ramy. So found that one a little bit of a strange suggestion, really. But clearly he's keen to kind of shoot down some of the stuff. I'm trying to think of an example recently where I've read someone who's written sources close to Salah say X, Y, and Z. I've not really seen off the top of my head any examples of that. Has someone been saying that sources close to him he's saying he wants to stay or leave, or?
This is where, and again, you go 2-2 and get 27. I never thought we'd be bringing Indy Callier up on this pod, but I know he's tweeted about it as well. And also, people will look at and have made this insinuation around Paul Gorst when he wrote The Echo understands that Salah's keen, and Mel Reddy obviously did that tweet, didn't she? So, but again, it could be 2-2 and getting 27. No one knows whether it's just a game or who Ramy's referring to, or whether we're into the contract game that he played last time at the same way.
Well, without pulling the curtain back a little bit too much, I hope I'm not undermining Mel here, but I'm pretty sure she spoke to Mo at Old Trafford. So, with sources close to Mo Salah, you don't get much closer than Mo himself in terms of, if he'd given the suggestion there. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but, I think that's a pretty good source close to Mo is him. So, if she'd suggested that he would like to stay, and I think he's given the vibe he wants to stay anyway in interviews. Yeah. So if anyone is writing that, suggesting that, and I think, Ghosty, again, like I say, if he's writing sources close, I'm pretty sure, Ghosty will have contacts around Liverpool who work at the club, people who would call themselves Mohamed Salah's friend, or, because he's a good journalist and he's very close to the club. So, just a strange tweet. And if he's trying to knock down the suggestion that Salah wants to stay, then well, fair enough. Maybe he doesn't, and you're keen on finding that move elsewhere. But it was a really, really odd one, that, to be honest, and couldn't really get my head around what his motivation to tweet it was.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.